I'm just going to welcome you all into the space. My name is Natalie Rawi, and I'm leading up Nabat Consulting, and I'm here to talk to you about how we can co-create better to regenerate. And just before I begin, I would like us to take a moment and just close our eyes, and then just, if you want, actually stand up. Yes, I'm going to shake things up a little bit, get a little bit more comfortable. And then shake off anything that you've been bringing into the space today, any sort of stories or narratives or stress, anything that's been weighing a little bit heavy on you. I know this space can be a little bit overwhelming, so just take a moment and shake all of that off. And then just remain comfortable if you want to stay standing or to sit down and close your eyes and breathe. Take a deep breath and imagine your breath and the space that your body takes up, your feet on the ground, and how your body is feeling right now. Breathe into the space of this room that we're in. Then expand your awareness to this neighborhood, the community, the city, your country, or Azerbaijan, the whole world, and all the beings in it. Now return back into your own body, breathing right here, in this moment, held in all of this space. Just slowly start to let go. Then I ask you kindly to start to rotate your head a little bit, just doing small circles with your head in one direction, the other. Deep breaths as you do so. And then rotating the shoulders, just in and out, going up, around, and down, up, around, and down in one direction, and then reversing that direction as you do so. And then your wrists. So just rotating your wrists a little bit in one direction, and then the other. And then your hips and your waist. So really circle those around and start to get the body moving in one direction and then the other. And then your ankles. So all the way down to the ankles, start rotating one direction and the other. Then really just take a moment to check in with how your body's feeling, how this day has been, how maybe if you've been here this whole week, how the last week has been, or if you're just arriving now, what kind of energy are you bringing into the space? And before you open your eyes, I would like you to think about the last memory you had in nature. And think about the sights, the sounds, the smells, and how did they make you feel? Open your eyes now and take a moment. Note down to yourself, or maybe to the person next to you, how you were feeling, or some of the words that came through. And then if you can see on the tables in front of you, there's some ping pong balls. You want to grab one and place it. I'm actually going to come show you. And keep going, keep trying to find more creative ways to go around the space. I know there are a lot of obstacles, so how are you going to maneuver through them? And just get a bit more creative. Try and expand some of that range a little bit more. If you're walking straight, maybe walk backwards or sideways. If you've been standing up still, try and bend down or reach up with the arm. And if you're feeling adventurous, you can switch over to the other hand. Just going to do a little bit longer. Find a bit more playfulness with the movements you're doing. I know we all carry so much, and sometimes it's easy to drop the ball on a few things, quite literally. But then find that space within that you need to be at to be able to keep this ball moving, even as obstacles arise, as the movements start to shift, as you start to do things just a little bit differently. Yes, hello, welcome. If you want to find a ping pong ball and then just get creative, we're having it placed right at the edge of the thumb and the index finger. But take a moment to land in the space. And as you do this, kind of think about what's going on inside of you, what's working when you're keeping the ball steady, where your mind drifts off to when the ball starts to shake a little bit. And really explore the breadth of movement that you can do. Maybe try one ball on each hand if you're feeling a bit more adventurous. But as you do this, really monitor that inner space, that inner scape, and your thoughts, how you're feeling. It might be helpful if you put down the bag so that you're not carrying much more than just the ball. Yeah, if you haven't, maybe do try to switch over to the other hand. Try a movement you haven't done before. And observe how you feel actually when the ball drops. Is there some self criticism, some judgment, some fear? Are you moving with the ball in fear, or are you finding a connection with it now? Is it starting to become more a part of you now? Are you finding a bit more attunement with the ball now? Hello, welcome. Find a ping pong ball if you'd like to play a little with us. We're putting it just here in the space between the thumb and the index finger, and just get a bit creative, walk around the space, find the right place in which maybe the placement of the ball makes a difference. Yeah, should have given you some warning. Really take your time with the movements that you're doing, but also observe what feels easy, what feels difficult. How are you approaching the ball, which actually we can imagine to be our issue, a crisis, something that might feel like a nuisance or an obstacle in moving a bit more fluidly. But how can we maybe utilize that to get a bit more creative? What can we do now that the ball is in our hand that we maybe couldn't do? Or what is different? Note the points of balance, where it is, how it's become a part of you, maybe. How are you feeling towards the ball as you try to move around with it? Noting all the obstacles in the space. We've got some tables, we've got some chairs too, a lot coming at us. But really try and play with this. Try something you haven't tried before. Challenge yourself just a little. And if you are struggling to find that place of balance, note why and note how you're kind of feeling about it. If the ball isn't sticking or it keeps dropping, or if there's too much going on, the obstacles are proving to be a bit of a nuisance, they're in your way. Maybe now put it in front of the fan and I mean, I appreciate your effort there. We're going to do this for a couple more minutes. So just actually really embrace the process. Do you not want to try? Thank you. I invite you to those who are sitting down. You're welcome to come and play with us a little bit. Keep trying. Notice your frustrations, your tension. And the state you're in when the ball does feel like it's seamlessly moving with you, when the obstacle is no longer an obstacle, but a part of the opportunity. Try some moves you haven't tried before. Try thinking about it a little bit differently. Switch over to the other hand, go in a direction that feels uncomfortable. And see what works and what doesn't. And as you do this, really monitor that space within, how you're responding to this movement and maybe to the ball dropping, to the challenge. How are you framing this? Are you enjoying it? Is it a struggle? Are you frustrated? Are you excited to see what's possible? Challenging some of the ways we normally move and normally think now that you have maybe an obstacle or an opportunity, depending on how you're seeing it. And I invite you to play with this. Everybody's kind of doing their own thing, so nobody's watching you. They're all focused on their own experience here. So expand that realm of creative movement, maybe of creative thought around this. And keep going and see if fear creeps in, the fear of the ball dropping. Does that help? Does that help keep the ball steady? Or does it actually make it worse? Try relaxing into this. Maybe don't think too much. I am. I'm right here with you, just maybe not moving as much. There's another, you can get another ball from the table if it's fallen. Hello, welcome. We're doing a little exercise with the ping pong balls. If you can find one, maybe place it here between the thumb and the index finger. Explore some movement. And then slowly, yeah, if you want to move a little faster, a little slower, try and do something else with the ball in your hand. Maybe don't focus on it as much. Sit down, stand up, dance a little if you can. And really note how you're feeling through this experience. Are you willing to challenge yourself? Are you willing to try something you haven't done before? I know most of you probably never had a ping pong ball on your hand before. So this might be a new experience for everyone, but how are you responding to it? How are you responding to having an element that might not be the most comfortable? Perhaps a challenge, even. How are you maneuvering with it? And just take a minute or two. We're going to finalize. So maybe do some of the more extravagant movements you've been holding back from. Nobody's judging you on how many times the ball drops. Just as long as you maybe pick it back up and try again. get a new one. And then if you'd like to slowly find your way back to your seats, and take a minute and sit with how that felt, considering the ball or the multiple balls that you've been carrying as some of the crises or the issues we've been facing, or needing to carry so much more weight, maybe a challenge. But can we turn that into an opportunity to be a bit more creative, to think about things a little bit differently, to be challenged in a way? And also note how you felt each time the ball dropped, each time you maybe didn't do as well as you thought you would, or each time that you did, each time you did a move that actually worked out better than you thought it would, that the ball stayed in balance. What was that needing from you in that moment? There's some pens and some paper in front of you if you want to maybe jot down some thoughts on that. Or if not, I actually do invite you to think about what brings you here today, who you are. And we're going to do a little poetry writing exercise with the prompt, I am. How would you fit or how would you fill the space after I am? Just take some time. There's some tools on the table. There's some affirmation cards that can give you some inspiration. If you're also somebody who's very kinesthetic, you can continue with the balls or use some of the Play-Doh that's there for you. Really take a moment, and there's also some scents on the table as well if you want to sort of use those as some insight or some inspiration. I'm just gonna play the little singing bowl in the background so that you can have something other than the noise to work with. Really chant anymore. And take a moment and really think about what fits behind those words, I am. How would you like to be? How are you already? Maybe it's how you're feeling. Maybe it's an identity trait that you'd like to have or that you're already carrying. What defines you? Or what would you like to define you? Hello, welcome. If you'd like to participate, we're doing a little internal journaling exercises with the prompt I am. So you're welcome to think through that. Hello. And if you're done or you feel like you're done, maybe sit with what you've written a little bit. See if you can challenge some of those notions. Think about where they came from, maybe. Come a little bit closer so I'm not on the stage anymore. With this, I invite you to play. Maybe words aren't your favorite choice of medium to work with. You'd prefer to draw or sketch or doodle, maybe, or play with some of the tools on the table. But take that time to really tune in within yourself. What feels like a purpose? What helps you anchor? Is it something, if you've written down some things about yourself, is it something that you feel? Is it something someone's told you about who you are? Is it a story you've been fed? Or is this really coming from within, from yourself? Do you recognize it? And think of how the weight of the words kind of feel. Are they heavy? Are they light? Do they resonate with you? How do they make you feel about yourself? Maybe think about why they may have brought you here today, to this conference, to this session. Let them maybe flow through you a little bit. Try not to judge what comes through, but really observe it. And just take a couple more minutes if you want to reflect on what you've written, or what you've drawn. Maybe closing out some of the thoughts. Then, if you're feeling like this is done or ready, take a moment to sit with it. Reflect on it. What have you been trying to tell yourself about yourself that maybe didn't show up before, or you didn't have the time to think about before? And as you reflect on that, think about maybe what you'd like to let go of, or what you want to keep around. What feels in alignment with who you really are versus some of the stories you might have been telling yourself or you might have been told. there any final thoughts or feelings? You're welcome to note them down now. Hello, welcome. You're welcome to join us. We had just started with a poetry writing exercise, but feel free to get settled into the space a little bit. Then once you're done, slowly drop the tools you've been using. Just sit, take a breath. And I see we have a nice even number here. So we're going to do a little exercise. I'm not sure if you've done this before, if you've heard of this before. It's something I came across a couple of years ago called reevaluation counseling or just active listening, and where we practice not maybe predisposing some of our thoughts or feelings about other people or ourselves into a conversation, but actually taking the time to just listen. So it might be a bit of a challenge for some. It might be coming naturally to others, but we're going to pair up into small groups. So I think we've got an even number here. So it'd be nice if we have twos. And each person's going to get around 2 minutes to speak. You're welcome to speak and share your insights about this experience, your experience at COP, or generally how you're feeling about some of these crises that we're facing. And for the duration of those 2 minutes, it's one person speaking and one person listening. And when it comes to active listening, you really want to be listening to what the other person is saying and note when you're actually kind of maybe filling in the gaps of what that other person is saying, maybe starting to bring in your own narrative, your own experience, your own bias into that conversation and just take check of that. There's no need to judge yourself in that process, but note that that's happening and maybe tune back in and try and find ways to be more present for that person that's speaking and starting to think about what their experience might be like. But you don't have to take that on, just be present for them and really listen to what they're saying and practice that. So I think we can just keep, you guys can maybe get into your little twos. And I'll keep track of the time. So if you want me to give you a prompt on who can speak first, otherwise I feel like you can maybe find it amongst yourselves. You can take a moment, introduce yourselves, have a little chat.